Hello, 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 everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to the flight sim community. This is Fighter Strike 95. I hope you're all having a great day, great app day here today. Happy Friday, everyone, and kickstart the weekend. Today we're here in England. We're more specifically in southwest England here today, just right outside of Bristol, England. So, guys, I hope you're all doing well here today. We're back with another of our game day flights here today. And for this week, we decided to pick a really huge matchup here in England, one of the biggest football rivalries in the world, and one of the most, and probably the most important one in all of England. Yes, we're doing Liverpool and Manchester United today. That would be where we're going to be going this week. So I hope you're all doing well here today and getting ready for this flight as always. So before we get started, I do want to say hello to everyone in chat and all the workers. Morning to all of you guys as well. So we're going to take the Piper Warrior 2 with us today. So let's go over our flight plan for this morning, for this afternoon, shall we? So we'll depart here at Bristol Airport. We'll fly over from Bristol Airport to downtown Bristol. We'll fly over Ashton Gate, home of Bristol City Football Club. They play in the EFL Championship. Then we'll go to downtown Bristol, fly over downtown Bristol. Then we'll head over. We'll cross the Severn Side Channel to Wales. We'll fly over some of the Welsh national parks. Then from there, we'll go through, make our first of our two stops here at Glanborough Airport, Echo Golf Foxtrot Delta. Then from there, we'll fly over to Snowdonia National Park, fly over famous national park, and then make our way over to here. Then we'll turn right, and we'll pay a visit to the small border town in Wales, Wrexham, of home to Wrexham Association Football Club. You guys all probably, any sports fans will probably tell you that this club that Ryan Reynolds owns, along with the Never Hollywood Star. And then we're going to go up over to Merseyside first. We'll cover Liverpool. We'll fly over the dock. And we'll fly over to check out the historic home of Liverpool Football Club, Anfield. And then finally from Anfield, we'll head over east over to the city of Manchester. We'll pay a visit to Old Trafford. Right here is the historic ground of Manchester United, Old Trafford. Then we'll make our landing here at Barton Aerodrome, Echo Golf Charlie Bravo. That will be for our last stop of the day, or second to last stop. 2 legs for today's flight. So a bit of a background between Manchester United and Liverpool. These two are very heated rivals. It is the biggest game in English football. It's very intense, and it's more than just a rivalry on the pitch. This rivalry is also beyond. It's reflected to the cities, and this game has shaped a lot of English football as we know it. Very, very big game. It's going to be on Sunday, of course. So a huge matchup this week for the Premier League. Ultimately, there were a couple of games I was thinking about picking for today. The other game this week I would have picked. There have been a couple of games I could have very well picked this week, of course. The other game I did consider this week that I would have taken would have been Manchester City and Everton, my club. It was either that game or it was the other matchup I would have probably picked, and a very big one was Bayern Munich and Dortmund. This was a tough one between Bayern Munich and Borussia Dortmund in this game, but I picked the Liverpool-Manchester rivalry this week. In terms of college football, there wasn't really too much going on this week for college football. I know the Louisville-Miami games tonight, but I didn't want to make the long flight from Louisville to Miami. The other big one that I think would have been this week, Ole Miss, Georgia. But I might be doing Ole Miss. I might do Georgia and stuff at another time. So ultimately, I decided to pick this game. So that is what I'm ultimately. Let's go ahead and get into our aircraft. Okay, he's on. Okay, looks like we got our aircraft up and going. Let's see. All right. So, bit of background, of course, this year. But yeah, that was ultimately the decision I did this week. It was not an easy choice because Borussia Dortmund and Bayern Munich were also the top two teams in the Bundesliga this year. But after some thinking and looking at some of the schedules and stuff, I think Manchester United Liverpool was the best choice because the Dortmund Borussia Dortmund Munich game was going to be back later in the year. Because Dortmund and Liverpool and Munich are going to meet again. Was going to meet again in February. So it's likely I would have ended up being meet with them again. And look at this, and I'm looking at the schedule, and that's probably what I'm going to pick for that weekend in February 28th over some of the other games this week. So that's why I ultimately chose. Um, so our altitude, the first part of the flight, we're going to cruise around 110 knots, and our first leg will be flying over. We're going to go fly over to 1,500 feet above sea level, and we're going to go ahead and set this over to. Oh, hey, Shirley Dev, good to see you. Shirley Dev, we're in England today. I forgot that. Sorry for your ears. I forgot. I forgot these planes like to make noise when taking off. But I hope you're doing well, Shirley Dev. I hope your week's going well for you, my dude. So we're going to go ahead. Now, Bristol, by the way, this airport is one of the hubs for Firefly Air. Um, really cool hub. It's one of the two hubs in the United Kingdom. The other one being in Edinburgh. Hey, Devil Dude, good to see you. So we're going to go ahead and turn on the autopilot. On. Heading mode initiated. Don't need to go all the way to speed. So we're going to head to Bristol. We're going to visit first. It's the home of Bristol City Football Club. They currently play in the second division of English football this year. Last year they were in the EFL Championship playoffs, but they lost to Sheffield United. Tough loss for the Robins. So tough loss for the Robins, of course, in that EFL Championship. Right now they're currently 10th in the second division standings with 13 points. So they're pretty cool. Ashley Gate, by the way, has been around since Since 1887, it's a very old ground. 1887. This makes it a very old stadium. It was actually a rugby ground, but it's been the home of Bristol City since 1904. And one last fun fact about the Robins, of course, they did play 9 seasons in top flight English football. Fun fact: some people they've never been in the Premier League, so pretty fun fact. You go with Liverpool for this matchup. I think Liverpool are the favorites, but I'm not cheering for Liverpool because if you know me, Devil Dude, I'm an Everton supporter. I don't like Liverpool. Thank you very much. So, so pretty cool stuff. Coming up, a bit of fun facts about Bristol City. Really cool club. At one point, they almost went under, but it was thanks to some of the highly paid senior players um, paid their terminated their contracts, allowing them to save the club financially. And their biggest rivals are their in-city rival Bristol Rovers and the Savernetime Derby with Cardiff City. Two big rivalry games for Bristol City Football Club. Now this year was big surprise in the EFL Championship this year. Like for example, one surprising thing um was the team that made the playoff final last year, Sheffield United. They're bottom. They're worse than their NC rival Sheffield Wednesday. That's how bad things have been for Sheffield United. And then one of the teams that people thought were going to get relegated, Preston's fourth, which is pretty crazy to think about. And Preston haven't been in the top flight of English football in over 60 years, which is crazy to think about. There's Ashton Gate, the home of Bristol City Football Club. Bristol City. Pretty big, a pretty well-known club for the lower leagues, of course. Once we fly over Bristol, we'll talk more about our game, of course, our rivalry matchup. So this is downtown Bristol. Really cool city. I would have loved to visit Bristol during my trip in the United England. I would have loved to visit. It's like a really cool town, really cool city to visit here in Bristol. But I mean, I'm happy to be back in the United Kingdom next year. I'm going to go ahead and climb up. That is downtown Bristol. We're flying over. We'll say goodbye to Bristol. And we'll go ahead and talk about this rivalry matchup for a bit. So we're going to go ahead and yeah, the Manchester teams. Yeah, they were definitely pretty hated. Yeah, there are definitely a lot of hated clubs. Yeah, Manchester United, Manchester City, two of the most hated teams in England. No question about it. But there's a lot of hated clubs. And it's depending on who you ask. Because there are clubs that are even more hated. From what I heard, the most hated clubs in England are actually Leeds United and Millwall. Those two really, fans did not like those two. So there's that too. So let's go ahead and talk about our slideshow for this morning stream. Let's go ahead and we're covering the Manchester United Liverpool Football Club rivalry. So the Liverpool Manchester United rivalry dates all the way back to 1894. It's sometimes referred to as the Northwest Derby. This inter-city rivalry between Liverpool and Manchester United is one of the biggest fixtures, not just in England, but in all of world football. Very passionate rivalry. In fact, fans consider this to be even bigger than their local derbies, with Everton and Manchester City respectively. And And unlike some of the other rivalries, this isn't just a rivalry between just the clubs themselves. This rivalry is also fueled by the proximity of the two major cities, respectively. Their economic and industrial rival periods of football and dominance and European success, and their popular home and abroad as two of the most popular clubs in the world. Now, of course, these two clubs combined have been the most successful clubs in England. Combined, these clubs have won 40 league titles, 21 Football Association Cups, 16 League Cups, 37 Community Shields, 9 Champion Leagues trophies, which is the prestigious European honors. It's 5 Super Cups and 2 FIFA Club World Cups. They are the two biggest clubs in England. Also, fun fact, neither of these two clubs, as well as Arsenal, Chelsea, Everton, and Tottenham, have never been relegated from the Premier League. Okay. Like I said, I didn't really do much flying with this thing before, so I haven't done much. Never doing that much flying, so I'm trying to keep this thing level. Yeah, thank you for pointing that. No worries, in dinner time. I hope to see you again soon. But yeah, Liverpool, Manchester United, big rivals, and they've been around for decades. First met back all the way in 1894. They've met for over 200 meetings in total between Manchester United and Liverpool. Manchester United has actually won the most games in the rivalry with 83 wins. Currently, the all-time series 2 matchups, all-time meetings statistically, Manchester United have won 83 of the 216 meetings, followed by 61 draws, and Liverpool's won 72 times in all-time matchups. These two have been rivals for decades, of course. But there's more than just the rivalry between Manchester United and Liverpool, not just on the pitch. Manchester United and Liverpool have also been significant rivals off the pitch due to the two seats of Manchester and Liverpool. You see, they're both located in the same city in northwest England, just 35 miles apart. And since in the Industrial Revolution times, there has been a consistent rivalry in these two based on an economic and industrial competition. On one hand, Manchester was more populous of a city compared to Liverpool. However, Liverpool became a much more important seaport thanks to its seaside location on the banks of the Mersey River. What ultimately changed all this and linked the two cities even closer together was the Manchester Ship Canal that was constructed. Funded by a lot of Manchester merchants, and was proposed by a Liverpool politician and built resentment to those two cities. There, and eventually was heightened after the in 1894, just 3 months before the meeting between these two clubs for the first time ever. Today, the both crested Manchester United include ships now. Of course, nowadays with post-World War ties, of course, post-world economic ties relying on regional coal and ships caused the decline of British manufacturing, and both as well. And nowadays, these two are still major rivals even now. Are still major rivals for cities, and their continued importance has reflected in rewarding the Commonwealth Games to Manchester in 2002, in Liverpool gained the 2008 European Capital Culture. So Yes, they're not just rivals on the pitch, they're rivals off of it too. Of course, to talk about some bit of the history between these two clubs, let's talk about some bit of history lesson. Of course, Manchester United were formed in 1878. They were founded in Newton Heath, which is an area just 2.8 miles northeast of the city, as Newton Heath LYRFC, and they played their first match in 1886 when they entered the Cup in 1886-1887. The other club, Liverpool FC, was founded in 1892. Now, the interesting thing about finding Liverpool was it was actually founded because of a rent dispute at Anfield with Everton. Yes, a lot of people don't know this, but Everton are the original Liverpool club. Well, there was a disagreement between the board of Everton and the club president at the time, John Holding. And eventually, this resulted in the both parties resulted in Everton moving to nearby Goodison Park. We'll be seeing Goodison Park when we fly near Anfield. They're literally separated by Stanley Park. And John Holding, well, he found his own club, Liverpool FC. It was originally Everton Athletic, but he had to change his name. And, well, that became history, and Liverpool was founded in 1892. Of course, Liverpool played its first season in 1893 in the second division of English football at the time. The team went undefeated and was put up for the election of the first division, being promoted. And they would see a playoff test match against the bottom side of the first division. And guess who that was in the bottom half of the first division? Newton Heath. That's right, Manchester United. And guess what? Liverpool beat them 2-0 and took their place in the first tier, the first of over 100 plus seasons in the top flight of English football. Of their over 100 seasons in the top half of English football happened during this time. Of course, one very big thing happened as well. Another thing that happened during all this time, in the rivalry, of course, was Liverpool won its first English title in 1901 and followed up in 1906, which was the same season that actually saw Manchester United promoted to the top flight, which was renamed from Heath to Manchester United by being as runner-ups to Bristol City. And then just a year later, 2 seasons later, Manchester United won its first league title in 1908, while Liverpool fell mid-table. And of course, Manchester United had been more successful during the early parts of it, winning over Manchester City and Aston Villa. What ultimately disrupted it was World War I. And following the resumption of the competitions, Liverpool became the dominant force in domestic football between the two, winning a brace of league championships, while United found a steep decline that got them relegated in 1923. Now, crazy enough, between 1923 and World War II, neither team won any more competitive trophies other than regional trophies. Manchester United even spent 3 separate periods in the second division of English football. What ultimately things changed, however, was the post-World War II era, and that's what ultimately really changed both Manchester United and Liverpool. Liverpool became English champions again in 1947, before the club's roles reversed once again. And what changed was that Manchester United had actually hired former Liverpool captain Matt Busby. He then won the FA Cup in 1948. Then he won 3 more league titles and Charity Shields apiece in the 1950s, cementing Manchester United as a major force in English football, while the Merseysiders dropped into the second tier in 1954. Ultimately, during that time, Bill Shankly was approached by the Liverpool chairman, and eventually they got Shankly's head as manager in 1962 with Shankly. He became a legendary manager for Liverpool, winning, and basically, and during the 60s was the first time that these two clubs were in direct competition for each other, as they shared 4 league titles between 1964 and 1967, as well as the 1965 FA Shield. And following this, again, both sides went their own directions. United's title victory in 1967 was the last in 26 years. Liverpool, however, would enjoy 19 years of sustained success. 11 league titles, 19 domestic cups, 7 European trophies between 1973 to 1992, as Liverpool became the powerhouse of England. And this was also during this period where the rivalry truly developed. And as a result, this led to the modern day rivalry, of course. The main reprise for Manchester United, however, did come with the 1977 FA Cup final and the 1979 FA Cup semi-final, and that's where the rivalry truly developed. What ultimately changed things for Manchester United, of course, was the 90s, and they got a new manager, Sir Alex Ferguson, the former manager of Aberdeen from the Scottish League. He came over to be Manchester United's manager, and while there was some doubts whether he can take Manchester United to the next level, he proved them all wrong. Manchester United became unbelievably dominant. 13 league titles during this run, 23 domestic cups, and 5 European trophies. While Liverpool from 1990 to 2020 have been much less successful. They did win Football League Cup and FA Cup, as well as 2 Champions League. They still didn't win a domestic title, which finally ended it in 2020. And despite their contrasting fortunes, only 8 times since 1972 that neither Liverpool or Manchester United finished in the top 2 in the league table. That being in 1980-81, 2003-2004, 2004-2005, 2014-15 season, 2015-16, 2016-2017, 2022-2023, and 2023-24. In 7 of those 8 years, silverware was still taken home by one of the 2 clubs. So yes, these 2 have been incredibly successful clubs as well. That being one of the more successful as well. That is the conclusion for this rivalry, of course, a bit of the history line. I'm going to go ahead and take a break. Where am I at in the moment? We're about to enter the Welsh National Park stuff. So that concludes a little bit of the history lesson of this rivalry. Haven't been around for decades, of course. So let's take a look at the scenery here today. We have some beautiful scenery in the Welsh countryside here today. Sorry about if I sound a little quiet. I didn't want to blow the mic. Well, that brings us to here as well. I tried to make sure the mic wasn't too loud. I didn't want to blow people's ears out. Does that sound a little bit better? I don't want to accidentally blow your head off. So, of course, we only have one stream this week. Our one stream this week, of course, is today. I'll be heading out of town Saturday. And it'll be for 7 days a week for the week. So I'll be heading out of town. So our next stream back on October 31st, which is Halloween, actually. So that brings us back to our game day flights again. So I worked on my document for this week. The sad thing about this, sad thing about missing out on today, of course, for next week's flights, because I'm going to miss out the next game day flight. So that is going to be tough because I'm going to miss out next week's flight, which would have been really sad because I would have missed out on another real stream, of course. So I would have missed out on another one of the flights for next week. And I think next week would have probably been so I would have missed out on a pretty major flight next week, another matchup this week. I would have probably missed out the World Series. That would have been next week's stream for the game day flights. It would have been the World Series. It would have been one of the 2 World Series games that we would have missed out. So that stinks. Actually, technically, it was either the World Series next week or it would have been El Clasico next week with Real Madrid and Barcelona. Like I said, I don't make the schedule. My parents do. So Yeah, next week would have been either World Series or Real Madrid Barcelona. El Clasico. So don't know which one would have picked. I'm just telling you that one. But we'll be back, of course, next week for the Gameday flights. Ultimately, I had a bit of a tougher next week. Um, Basically, next week would have been on the Wednesday we got back, 31st. This one's a tough one. I'm a little bit conflicted what to do with the Gameday thing. I'm picking either Georgia versus Florida, which is the Florida-Georgia rivalry matchup between Florida and Georgia. I could do Ohio State, Penn State, but Penn State's really fallen off massively. I was thinking about doing the NBA, the Celtics in 76ers. The NBA season would have started, so I would have done Celtics and Sixers. Then I have the NHL Senators and Canadiens. The Senators are doing pretty well right in the division, and the Canadiens are playing really well this year, so maybe that would be on top of the list. There really isn't too much for the NFL. I could do Colts versus Steelers. If the Colts Steelers play really well, maybe I'd do Colts versus Steelers. That would be pretty nice. And then for soccer, I think there is a couple matchups, but I think the two ones I would be most interested in is the Basque Derby in Spain, Real Sociedad versus Athletic Club. There's also the Turkish League, Galatasaray Trabzonspor, which is the Turkish League between the two best teams in Turkey. There an Istanbul derby between Fenerbahce and Besiktas, or the Austrian Bundesliga with Rapid Wien versus Sturm Graz. Multiple really interesting choices. This one. So yeah, there's multiple choices for next week's sort of matchups. So I'll probably wait. I'll probably pick on it when we. Are you in 24? I'm on MSFS 2024. I'm in the newer sim. MSFS 2024, as you can tell. I have it right here in my thing. It says Microsoft Flight Sim 2024. I'm not one of those who just changes the game stream title thing for extra views. I'm not like that. I'm not like that. Because I know there are some people that are going to be. So, pretty big change, of course. So this here is one of the two Welsh national parks here. This here is Banau Brechenog National Park, formerly known as Brecon Beacons National Park. And that is where we're flying over right now. Oh, beautiful park though. The scenery is absolutely breathtaking. Gorgeous scene right here in this part of Wales. Hey, good to see a Bonniest player on multiplayer. I read that. Hey, Bonniest player. Oh my gosh, Ewald. I haven't seen you in a while, Ewald. I hope you're doing well. It has been a minute since I've seen you. So if you haven't seen me in a while, we're doing a brand new series called Game Day Flights. I decided to go back to my roots for my new series. I was doing an all countries trip, but I'd rather go back to something I'm actually interested in and want to go back to my roots. So we're doing a major sports rivalry this afternoon. We're doing Manchester United and Liverpool, probably the biggest game in English football. A very huge game, lots of implications, not just in England but in Europe as well. Pretty big stuff. Once even 2 minutes, but yeah, definitely check out Bonnie's player as well. Great dude and great friend. And 3,500 feet. This is Breaking Beacons. Let's go over more of our slide notes, of course. So, of course, there have been many significant games in this rivalry matchup. There are a lot of them. So, the first meeting came at the test match in 1894, which was a postseason series to determine who received First Division membership. Newton Heath was the bottom half of the First Division in 1893-1894, and they had to play against the Second Division, Liverpool. And ultimately, Liverpool won the tie at 2-0 in Blackburn at Ewood Park, which earned them First Division membership, and Newton Heath, aka Manchester United, fell to the Second Division. There was also a massive game in 1977 where Manchester United ended Liverpool's treble dreams 2-1, thanks to goals from Stuart Pearson and Jimmy Greenhoff. And of course, one huge game was in 1908, where Liverpool was 11 points ahead of the top of the league, about to win the First Division title. However, Manchester United, in their first full season under Alex Ferguson, took them on, and eventually Manchester United, Liverpool took a 3-1 lead thanks to goals from Beardsley, Giuseppe, and Steve McMahon. However, Manchester United pulled it back thanks to Brian Robson, as well as Gordon Strachan equalized and forced a 3-3 draw, which later on, Liverpool lost the league title that year. Later that year. Which ultimately, Liverpool lost that league title. As ultimately, Arsenal won that league title, I believe. Liverpool did win the league title, however, but it would be the last time England Liverpool won for over 30 years. Oh yeah, you've been busy work. I guess that makes sense. You've been very busy with work. Got promotion, but yeah, it doesn't give you a lot of time. You have to work more. That makes sense. But yeah, I'm glad to see that you're doing all right, my dude. Great to have you back. Now one person reported me in the same office. Now 10 people. And more travel. Yeah, that means you don't really get a lot of time. So that makes complete sense. Yeah, beautiful national park here. We're going to continue on this road. And basically, we're going to be heading this way. We're going to be heading to our first stop, which is another 63 nautical miles. So, a little bit of talk about the Premier League this weekend. Of course, Liverpool, Manchester United are a big deal this weekend. But in the Premier League as well, we have multiple matches this week. Um, so, of course, the first games start tomorrow. But outside of the Liverpool Manchester United game, the other big matchups this week, Manchester City and Everton. And the Toffees pull off an upset and beat Manchester City. That is the other big matchup this weekend. And of course, Bournemouth and Palace is also a pretty big one this year. Yeah. And looking at the table coming into the Premier League this week, Liverpool actually fell to second as they lost 2 straight. So if Manchester United pull off the upset and beat them again, it would be an even bigger tumble for Liverpool. So Liverpool's second, Manchester United's all the way in 10th. So this is a big must-win game for Manchester United. Big game this week, of course, for Manchester United. And Everton's got Manchester City, so that's a big game. In terms of other stuff going on, at home, of course, Louisville City. By the way, for other games, my local football club, Louisville City, Lucy are going to be playing against Orange County Soccer Club, in California. They already got the USL Shields. I mean, yes, and I guess it's more likely they win the next two games. So, big stuff going on. Locally as well, in terms of our stuff, the NFL this year. Crazy game last night with the Bengals and Steelers. National football. Yes, Joe Flacco beat big Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, Joe Flacco. 40 between two 40-year-old quarterbacks. The Colts this week have a pretty tough matchup. Probably their first really tough matchup in the AFC. Here, the Chargers. But I mean, if the Colts were to pull off a big win, who knows? I may do Colts versus Steelers next week. Talk about my hometown Indianapolis Colts. Pretty big stuff, obviously. Colts. Week in terms of other sports as well. Another big thing happening this weekend, of course, is going to be the NBA is going to be back next week. I believe is going to be is the return of the NBA. In terms of hockey stuff, and don't worry, we'll do a hockey one as well for ice hockey. Maybe I do it for the Canadians and Maple Leafs. I'll find a way to get that. But I'm watching the Nashville Predators, and they're doing pretty all right in the Central Division. They're doing all right. They did lose the last two games to the Maple Leafs and Canadians. They're not doing too badly. Yeah, the Canadians are looking really good this year. Should be pretty interesting. Let's see if we can find Surly Dev. I know he had a server thing for so we have all of it. So I'm gonna go ahead and talk a little bit about Liverpool Football Club. Liverpool, of course. Now, you guys haven't been going to Liverpool, obviously. Liverpool FC. Where do we begin with the Reds? They were founded back in 1892. They've been joined the top flight ever since, and they've been playing a historic on-field ever since its formation in 1892. Currently, it's one of the most valuable and widely supported clubs in the world. And technically, Liverpool is England's most decorated club. Oh, a new firmament plus. I got a firmament plus. Let's go. Nice. Let's go. Yeah, so Liverpool FC. This is the team Murph and Gibbo and Muse fan supports, by the way. But they're the most successful club in England, winning 20 joint record 20 league titles, Football Association Cups, record 10 League Cups, 16 FA Community Shields, which are both records, and they're also the most decorated English club in Europe, being competitions, winning 6 Champions Leagues, 3 Europa League titles, 4 for cups, and they even won a Club World Cup. Of course, but they really helped to build them a great power was, of course, Bill Shankly. Under William Bill Shankly, becoming the greatest manager in Liverpool history, Bob Paisley, Joe Fagan, and Kane Dalglish, 11 titles throughout the 70s and 80s. But of course, this club is nicknamed the Reds, and there will be quite a few clubs that are also known as the Reds. But the team, however, it was under Bill Shankly that adopted the all-red home strip, which has been used ever since in Liverpool. Also adopted under his tenure was, of course, the famous club anthem. Probably heard this every single time you visit a Liverpool game. They play the club anthem. You'll never walk home alone. Which, by the way, the one cover for the games was by none other than Gary and the Pacemakers. Let me. I'll post a video in the chat for you guys about the famous Liverpool, about all of it. Can't really post the highlights. Here you go. Yeah, and now the current manager is Arne Slot. He's a Dutch guy. Yeah, Arne Slot's a really talented manager. But they became, and of course, they're one of the most decorated clubs. And a fun fact about this club too is they also went through a couple of major tragedies involved during the era. One in 1985 in Brussels, known as the Hazelstein disaster. The other one in 1989, probably just as infamous for English football, the Hillsborough disaster. Anyone that probably knows Liverpool football should probably know how sensitive of a subject the Hillsborough disaster is, which claimed the lives of 97 Liverpool supporters thanks to grossly negligent policing to a crowd crush. This disaster changed English football forever, replacing the terraces in favor of all stadiums. It was a very messy affair. But yeah, Liverpool is the most successful club in England. I wouldn't really talk too much about the history, since that would probably take forever. I mean, we have two clubs. If this was a single club, I would have been more than happy to talk about the history of Liverpool, but we're not going to talk about it. But there are some stuff I do want to talk about Liverpool. The current manager is Arne Slot, from the Netherlands, of course. Very, very talented manager. He was originally a player for FC Vol, where he won the second division in 2002, and he became the manager there first off, before eventually going to AZ, Alkmaar Zaanstreek, AZ Alkmaar. Then after that, he then go into one of the three giants of Dutch football, the Netherlands, Feyenoord, where he was the manager from 2021 to 2024. Then eventually he joined Liverpool to help in 2024 to help them win their first Premier League title since 2019. But yeah, very talented guy. Definitely a very, very strong manager. Now, the owner of the group is actually Fenway Sports Group, who, by the way, also own the MLB's Boston Red Sox, the NHL's Pittsburgh Penguins, and even NASCAR's RFK Racing, founded by John W. Henry and Tom Turner. So, very important stuff about some background information. Yeah, Feyenoord, one of the big three in Dutch football, along with Ajax and PSV. Feyenoord, definitely a very big club. They also won a Champions League, well, during their 70s. But they're absolutely big club. Of course, one big detail about Liverpool Football Club, and that's something I do want to bring up too, is of course the club colors and badge. Of course, for much of Liverpool's history, they've been all red. However, when it was founded back in 1892, they actually used blue and white quartered shirts. And the reason was simple. It was because of the whole dispute with Everton. And Everton's colors so happened to be blue and white. Of course, then they eventually adopted the state's color red in 1896. Now, of course, the symbol on the badge is, of course, the same symbol that's in Liverpool, the Liverbird. I didn't bring up the Liverbird here during my trip in Liverpool. So here she is, the Liverbird herself. That is the Liverbird. this is the symbol of the city of Liverpool, and adopted as the badge in 1901. However, it wasn't fully incorporated into the kit until 1955. And they originally red shirts and white shorts until 1964, when Bill Shankly decided to change to red. However, the away kits were not always red. Sometimes they've been either that more often been all white, all yellow, or white shirt and black shorts during all of his time. Fun fact about Liverpool: they were actually the first English professional club to have a sponsor's logo on its shirts in 1979, making them the first English club to actually have sponsors on the shirt, which you see all the time in many kits. So, pretty fun fact about that too, as well. But the Liverbird definitely important part of Liverpool as again, the good old Liverbird, Liverpool. I know that is not many old Liverpool. So here we go. Of course, the historic stadium they play in is one of the most historic stadiums in European football, Anfield. Now, I've actually visited Anfield before. I didn't stop here, didn't do too much in Anfield because I wanted to actually visit Goodison instead, and don't worry, we'll get to Goodison. Well, but Anfield has been the home of Liverpool since 1892. It's the fifth largest stadium in England, with a capacity of 61,276 people. And yes, it was the original home of Everton between 1884 and 1891. Now, there are four main stands that make up Anfield. The Sipon Cop, the main stand, Sir King Daglish stand, and Anfield Road End. Record attendance at the stadium was 61,000 when Liverpool and Wolverhampton played in 1952. Of course, there are two main gates of the stadium, the Bob Paisley and Bill Shankly gates, named after their former managers, and I did get to visit I think it was the Shankly gate I visited too. Now, there were attempts for someone to locate the stadium, but thankfully it did not happen, because it would be weird to see Liverpool not play an Anfield. It's very weird. But it's a very historic stadium. It's hosted not just Liverpool games, it's hosted rugby league matches. It's even hosted other sports, including a city marathon, a number of boxing championships. They even had professional tennis played in this area in an exhibition match. And of course, nowadays, it's been way more popular for concerts. Include most recently Taylor Swift, Elton John, Paramore, Bruce Springsteen, the Rolling Stones, Bon Jovi have played here. So yes, definitely crazy matchups, of course. And like I said, Anfield, really historic stadium, of course. And it's highly recommend you guys do a stadium tour in Anfield. If you ever want to get a chance to go to Liverpool, definitely take the stadium tour at Anfield, because you'll definitely learn a lot. So definitely worth it to go visit Anfield, of course. Now, of course, as a club, Liverpool is one of the most supported clubs, most supported football clubs in the world, actually. No, seriously, Liverpool has, according to the club itself, it has a worldwide fan base that includes 300 recognized support clubs in 100 countries. Yes, I'm not kidding. They have 100 fan groups all across the globe. It is absolutely massive, and of course, I'm not a Liverpool fan as well. But here's the link to their support stuff. The Liverpool FC website gives you and I recommend you guys check out the website for a bit as well. But yeah, they actually, you click the link here and you can find all the different supporter clubs. Um, Not just the United Kingdom, but they got them all over the world, even in Australia, South America, and all that. They got fan clubs as far back. And yes, there is a Liverpool fan club right around where I live, Kentucky Supporters Club. They got one in Kentucky and one in Indianapolis. Yes, I do have a Liverpool fan club. So, really cool stuff. As well, the most notable group is the Spears Shankly, which is the Supporters Union. And Liverpool often go through a lot of worldwide tours. And in fact, it even became the first Premier League club to amass over 10 million subscribers on YouTube. And in 2025, received more orders from more than 150 countries for team replica shirts. Now, Liverpool fans are simply known as Copites, is the nickname, as a reference to the Cup of Anfield. And of course, the club anthem is none other than You'll Never Walk Alone, which was recorded by Gary the Pacemaker, the one you actually hear in stands all day. It has been sung since the 1960s, and it definitely fits Liverpool FC immensely. And of course, the two stadium disasters I mentioned, Liverpool fans were involved in both the Hazel Stadium disaster, which 39 people, mainly Italian and Juventus supporters, were killed, and then the Hillsborough Stadium disaster that led to 97 Liverpool fans being crushed. In one infamous fact, you ever heard of the Sun newspaper? Well, apparently they don't sell those in Liverpool. Many people in Liverpool don't even buy the Sun newspaper due to their infamous coverage of the entire Hillsborough disaster. So yes, Liverpool fans do not like this. If you ever want to know why, that's because of course, we all know Manchester United is Liverpool's main rival, but there is a rivalry that's even older than this one, and it's called the Merseyside Derby with Everton, the Toffees, my club. And of course, the rivalry for that stems from its dispute with Everton and the owners of Anfield. And it's one of the few derbies in England that do not enforce fan segregation, which is hence known as the Friendly Derby. However, the ironic part about this is that while the fan derby between fans is kind of friendly, on the pitch, it is not friendly. In fact, since the Premier League in 1992, more players were sent off during the Merseyside Derby than any other Premier League matchup. So yes, it is not a friendly matchup on. And in terms of support in the city, of course, Liverpool fans outweigh Everton supporters 2-1. So yeah, Liverpool has way more support. But who knows? That might actually change if Everton succeed once. Like I said, being an Everton supporter isn't easy over the past 30 years or so. Especially when you consider Liverpool have all of their success since 1995 with the Champions League and titles. Everton are still waiting for their first trophies. At least if it's one good news about being an Everton supporter is we got a brand new stadium. Hill Dickinson. Really, really nice ground. So, the final things about Liverpool to bring up, there have been many famous Liverpool stars over the years and iconic players of Liverpool Football Club, and there are a lot of them. Here's some of their rich, talented players throughout their history. Of course, Ian Rush, one of their all-time goal-scoring leaders, Ian Rush. Absolute star. One of their all-time greatest players. Ian Rush was considered one of their greatest players. And he was their main star during the 19 all-time leading goal scorer in Liverpool history. Then we have Mohamed Salah. Yes, the Pharaoh himself, Mo Salah. Anyone who knows about Liverpool knows about Mo Salah. Came all the way from Sporting Lisbon. Came from AS Roma. and has changed this club. Then we have Roger Hunt. Legend, he has been an incredibly successful goalkeeper. Very successful player as well. Roger Hunt is their all-time league goal scorer. Steven Gerrard was a huge player back in the old days. Is Steven Gerrard? He was absolutely a Liverpool legend, all-time great players. Kenny Dalglish, he was both a player and manager too. Ian Callaghan, who was Ian Callaghan is their all-time. He is the player with the most appearances in Liverpool history. He appeared 857 times. Then we have Jamie Carragher, played for Liverpool for 17 years, and he's now an English football analyst. Phil Neal, he was a big fullback, one of the most successful players in England during his time. Billy Liddell, he was their leading goal scorer during the 30s and 40s. He played from 1930 to 1961. And of course, a Ballon d'Or winner, Michael Owen, who even won a Ballon d'Or during his time at Liverpool. Ambrose Grobbelaar, who was a great goalkeeper for Liverpool during the Zimbabwe. So yes, a lot of legendary Liverpool stars have been through. And finally, in talks of managers, of course, there have been many of them, but the managers I think are the most important are Tom Watson, Bill Shankly, Bob Paisley, Kenny Dalglish, Jurgen Klopp, and Arne Slot are the most notable managers in Liverpool's history. And if I had to pick the greatest manager for Liverpool, I'm probably going to take I'm going to probably say Bob Paisley over Shankly. Jurgen Klopp is a great manager as well. Klopp's really good. He's been a great manager, but I'm going to have to pick Paisley. And then final course is their honors. Liverpool are the most successful club in English. They had a lot of honors, of course, as a they won 20 Division First League titles. They've won 8 FA Cups, which is the more important of the 2 domestic cups. 10 League Cup trophies. They've won the Community Shield 16 times. Well, and of course, in European competitions, they are by far the most successful British club in European football. 26 Champions League titles, which is only surpassed by 2 other clubs in Europe. Real Madrid of Spain, AC Milan in Italy. And those 2 are absolutely huge clubs in their own right. So yeah, Liverpool, absolutely a successful club, and there's no question they are one of the biggest clubs in football. So that is going to be our slides here in Liverpool. So here we go, guys. Just a little bit of this is Liverpool FC's website. So one of the things, if you ever get the chance to go into Liverpool and you want to check out a bit, they got all sorts of fan support. They got the apps and stuff, of course. But if it's one thing you want to actually do, go to Liverpool, is I recommend the stadium tour. If you ever want to visit Liverpool for a day, you could do both Everton and Liverpool FC. They're both great places to visit. Is you definitely want to do the stadium tour at Anfield. They got, from what I know, they got an amazing stadium tour from all the people. Too bad I didn't do it when I went to Liverpool that time, due to them having concerts during this time. But definitely want to check out the stadium tour experience. They got a lot of different experiences. So they got a lot of stadium tours and stuff going. Tons of experience. also got the club museum too. They also got the club museum as well. So, and you can explore all their rich history stuff, the trophies they've won. They have all their major trophies, and you can explore all the clubs. But like I said, if it's one thing you want to do in Liverpool, you definitely want to check out um, Liverpool FC. Really cool. Yeah, that concludes all the Liverpool FC stuff. We'll make the landing here very shortly at Echo Golf Foxtrot Delta. Let's see if we can. But I can't really see your nameplate, Sir Dev. Um, I don't have Flow Pro, but my speed's around 103 knots. That's far I'm going, but scenery here is just fantastic this part of Wales. This is why I picked this direction, because I want to see some scenery here today, and I thought, what better place we can see scenery than checking out Wales? So, beautiful scenery today in this part of Wales. Absolutely stunning place. The Welsh mountains. Fantastic. So on the week, we'll officially return back to our streaming stuff. On Sunday, the Wind Cave National Park in South Dakota. A bit of the flight plan for this one. I'm going to go ahead and talk a little bit briefly about the flight plan in Wind Cave National Park. Go ahead. Wind Cave, we'll start in Mondell. We're going to go all the way up through to Devil's Tower National Monument, the first ever national monument in the United States, Devil's Tower. Then we'll go from Hewlett, and then we'll visit the Black Hills of South Dakota. We'll visit Deadwood, the Wild West town, fly through Custer State Park, and then we'll make our way over to Wind Cave. Here's the flight plan for next week. Oh, nice. Oh, you're my 6. Ah, nice. Just a bit above me in elevation. Can't really see your nameplate for some reason. Let me check. I don't want to make sure I. That's weird. Um, oh, Let's talk between that or display players. You know what? I might land here. I'm gonna check my settings, make sure I didn't accidentally turn off display players. I better not do it accidentally. I might want to make a landing and make sure all the settings are right. I'll go ahead and prepare for the landing here. Our airport's all the way down over here. I want to make sure. Here, I don't see your nameplate at all. That's so weird. Yeah, it's very strange for me. That is so strange. That is so strange. So, we'll make our landing right here. Our first airport is right over here. That is so strange. So, go ahead and get ready for our first landing of the day. Go. Yeah, I may restart things as well. Go ahead and autopilot. Go ahead and your way down. I'm gonna have to descend slowly and surely. See me on the EFB. I don't see you on my thing, Sterling Dev. I don't see you. Yeah, I'm gonna have to restart the sim. I'm gonna have to. Gonna have to turn down the brakes for a little bit and start descending slowly. Here we go, guys. We're about to make our first stop of the day. I'll restart everything. No, I don't see. We're gonna go ahead and sit down. I have to turn off the plane sounds for a bit. Gonna have to make sure. Good thing is, I'll restart and I'll check the server settings and stuff too. Oh, I'm purchasing for the north. Missed 2020 when multiplayer was a lot easier to work with. None or more issue to patching. No. Okay. Part here. We're gonna go ahead. I'm gonna exit out of the sim for just a bit. It says all players. I'm gonna exit out the desktop and then I'll relaunch this. Be right back for just a bit. I'm gonna go ahead and talk a little bit more while we wait for the sim to get back up. I do want to talk about a couple other things going on this weekend, of course, for some of the other football leagues across the world. For some of the Europe football leagues across the world, today in La Liga, we have a pretty big matchup today with my Spanish club Espanyol. They'll be taking on Real Oviedo. Real Oviedo is the first time these two met in league play, in La Liga league play, since 2001. They're playing today. Some of the other games for soccer, there's a big matchup, PSG in Strasbourg in France, playing today. Currently, some of the other games going on now. One of the other big games going on, of course, is the second Bundesliga. Schalke are doing well in the second league. Looks like Schalke is off to another great start to the season. So, pretty big stuff going on as well. Of course, Saturday's going to be the big lot of games on here. So I'm restarting the whole sim again. So bear with me on. While we're waiting, of course, I'm going to show you a bit of the Liverpool stuff. So I'm going to look at this online store. So a lot of stuff in the store, of course. You got Christmas stuff. And you can get stuff for Christmas, of course, for your Liverpool supporter. Maybe find one for Murphy. Maybe instead of buying him a new kitchen, they'll rather than his new kitchen, we'll give him. One of the things I like to grab is, of course, the scarves. Of course, gotta have those for the game. Of course, is the scarves. This is the one you'll see a lot during Liverpool matches. The crest scarf is their most popular one, featuring the club crest and the motto "You'll never walk alone." Very popular one for a lot of people wanting stuff. They also got they got a walk-on scarf. Got a Liverpool FC player scarf of Mohamed Salah. Got all sorts of really interesting ones to pick. Of course, for it is a payware. It is a payware. It's the payware Piper from Just Flight. Piper Warrior. Yes, I checked all players on. I want to make sure my advanced options see players are graphics. Here it is, guys. I'm just loading back in. All right, guys. I loaded back in. Everything's back to what it was before. Okay, guys, we're officially back. So let's go ahead and cover the last leg of the trip. 39 point. And it is it's the Payroll Piper Warrior. I appreciate you guys for being patient with me, of course. I know it wasn't. I know the multiplayer issues have been an issue with me, so I do apologize for that. Oh, nice! You can see my nameplate. Okay. We're going to go ahead and cover, once we get up to altitude, we're going to be climbing to around 4,000 feet. We're going to visit Snowdonia National Park, Wales. Weird, I can't see nameplates, so I'm going to go ahead and go back to controls. Weird, I can't see your nameplate. So weird. That's so weird. I don't know what's going on. That is so weird. So we're going to go ahead and cover the next of our teams. We're at Snowdonia National Park, which is one of the crown jewels of Wales. It's an absolutely gorgeous park. Plane flying around Snowdonia, of course. But like I said, this is very off. Like I said, I don't know why that's happening. Many achievement. Oh, I found it. I see your nameplate, Grover. I finally fixed it. Okay, I fixed it. I finally fixed it. I finally fixed it. So I had to adjust my traffic setting to ultra. Okay, we're back on board finally. Good. Yeah, I did not want to spend all day trying to figure this out. So this is Snowdonia National Park, an absolute beautiful gem of Wales, where we've flying through this area for a bit. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit more about Manchester United for a bit. So Snowdonia National Park, before we go in, of course, Snowdonia. Beautiful national park. Snowdonia National Park, one of the most, it's Wales' most beautiful park. Features the Mountain Railway, and it has some absolutely gorgeous places. I mean, some of the pictures are stunning. And look at the scenery here today. But yeah, look at the lakes. This is breath, just breathtaking pictures of the lake. Gorgeous. I'm glad I did that today. So, Manchester United will be our next club we'll be talking about here. Of course, is the Red Devils, Manchester United. Um, they play in Manchester, but they actually played at Old Trafford. Um, they nicknamed the Red Devils. They were founded as Newton Heath LYR Club in 1878, but changed their name to Manchester United in 1902. They currently have been playing in Old Trafford since 1910. Domestically, they've won 20 top flight titles, 13 FA Cups, 6 League Cups, and a record 21 Community Shields. Internationally, they've won the Champions League 3 times, and have won the Europa League, Cup Winners' Cup, Super Cup, Intercontinental Cup, and Club World Cup once each. But one thing about Manchester United, of course, is they are a big club. The, the manager that finally put this club is, of course, Matt Busby, and helped put Manchester United on the map in the 40s and 50s. Helped put this club as a big one in the 1950s. But of course, the golden age for Manchester United, of course, was the 19,000s. Ferguson. Um, of course, one infamous thing that did happen in Manchester United history was the infamous Munich air disaster in 1958, where British European Airways 609, Flight 609, crashed on the third attempt to take off at Munich Rem Airport, and it carried the Manchester United team. And unfortunately, this plane, there were about 23 fatalities, 19 injuries, and 21 survivors from the disaster. And basically, that disaster was when the Manchester United team returned from a European Cup match in Belgrade, having eliminated Red Star. Caused an infamous air disaster that still is felt by the Manchester United community for years. Of course, Manchester United are one of the world's most widely supported clubs and have rivalries with not just Liverpool, but fellow in-city rival Manchester City, Arsenal, and Leeds United, and was the highest earning football club in the world. They made $673 million, £633 million, and is the world's second most valuable football club, valued at over £6.55 billion, or 5.2 billion US dollars, second only to Real Madrid. Of course, currently, Manchester United's owners are the Glazer family. The Glazers actually own it as Manchester United PLC. But the co-chairman is Joel Glazer, or the Glazers family. Of course, many people in Manchester do not like them at all. Their head coach currently is Ruben Amorim. However, if he keeps struggling, he's not likely going to be the manager. But Manchester United, big club, absolutely massive club, of course, one of the world. Of course, one interesting thing about Manchester United, and one very interesting thing to talk about Manchester United, has got to be the crest and colors of Manchester United. Their club crest is derived from the Manchester City Council coat of arms, though although all that remains nowadays is the crest is the ship. Now, of course, the devil on the crest that you see in the modern uniforms nowadays, well, that crest, that devil, stems from the club's nickname, the Red Devils, and it was actually inspired by the nearby Salford Rugby Club. It was included in club programs and scars in the 60s and fully incorporated 10 years later, 70. Of course, the devil is now a big part of Manchester United brand. A lot of promotional items, and nowadays is the sole badge on their third kit. Of course, in terms of their uniform colors, um, they originally played with white with blue cord, and that was where they mainly played. However, the change to red happened after the name change in 1902, when they changed their name colors for red shirts, white shorts, and black socks, which has been the standard Manchester United home kit ever since. Of course, they wore. Then they eventually changed over to black shorts a bit. As well. Definitely something pretty important. So that's something to keep in mind here. Looking back, of course, we'll look more at Snowdonia. But yeah, the scenery in Snowdonia is absolutely insane. Absolutely gorgeous. One very interesting thing about Manchester United, of course, is the stadium they've been playing. So Manchester United have been playing at Old Trafford since 1910. Is that Manchester United have been playing at Old Trafford since 1910. Now, its nickname is literally the Theatre of Dreams. It's actually the largest club stadium in all of England, crowd of 74,000 people. It's the second 11th largest stadium in all of Europe. It's a huge ground. Its its nickname is the Theatre of Dreams, and it was nicknamed that by Sir Bobby Charlton. Um, and it went through several expansions in the 1990s and 2000s, including extra tiers in the north, west, and east stands, for almost returning back to 80,000 people. Um, of course, the record attendance at Old Trafford was 76,000 when spectators watched the FA Cup semi-final. Wolverhampton and Grimsby Town. Yes, Grimsby Town, who currently right now play in EFL League 2, the fourth tier of English football. But outside of Manchester United, it's hosted plain vanilla events. The FA Cup finals hosted matchups for the English national team, including the 1966 FIFA World Cup, the 1996 UEFA European Championship, the 2012 Summer Olympics, and it's even hosted the 2003 Champions League final. This stadium has been very historic. Of course, the stadium has 4 main stands. The North Stand is now known as the Sir Alex Ferguson Stand. Holds around 26,000 people. Hosts a few events in executive boxes in totality. The opposite is the South Stand, and that is the Sir Bobby Charlton Stand. South Stand. Then you have the West Stand, known as Stretford End. It's the best known stand is Stretford End. And this is where the hardcore Manchester United fans are located. And finally, the East Stand is the scoreboard stand as well. And that's where you can find the club's mega store. Of course, they may not be playing at Old Trafford for much longer. That's because they're eventually going to get a brand new stadium built at around 2030, I believe, where they're going to get this thing built. But it is going to cost an estimated 2 billion British pounds. 2 billion British pounds. And it's going to be a record-breaking 100,000 seat stadium. Which is insane. To put that in perspective, that's 10,000 more than Old Trafford than Wembley Stadium, the main one of the English team, which is absolutely insane. It's enormous, enormous stadium. Absolutely. Absolutely enormous. There's Groversaurus right next to it. About time I finally got those player things. Big stuff going on, of course. Oh, big old stadium. It's absolutely. Of course, one big thing about Manchester United is its support. And just like Liverpool, Manchester United are one of the most supported clubs in the world. Absolutely massive fan base. They have over 200 official branches in 24 countries at least. 200 branches in 24 different countries. According to the accounting firm Deloitte, Manchester United has around 75 million fans worldwide and is the second third highest social media following of all the sports teams in the world, only trailing, of course, the 2 massive Spanish clubs of Barcelona and Real Madrid. Of course, supporters are represented by 2 bodies, the Independent Manchester United Supporter Association and the Manchester United Supporters Trust. However, one interesting thing about the fan base, of course, was when the Glazers took over club and back in 2005. A group of fans dissatisfied with the ownership formed its own splinter club, the Football Club United of Manchester. And then in March 2025, Manchester United officially launched their first Jewish supporters club, as well as a official supporter club for Sikhs living across the United Kingdom. So yes, they have a lot of supporters, and yes, there are Manchester United supporter clubs right around where I live too. There's one in Indianapolis in Kentucky as well. But yeah, Manchester United, lots and lots of clubs. Lots. Yeah, they got a lot of fan clubs. In terms of rivalries, of course, Manchester United has a lot of them. Being one of the biggest clubs in the world, they have plenty of other rivalries to contend with. And not just Liverpool. They have a very bitter one with its fellow city rival Manchester City, which are known for their light blue colors. And yes, they were founded earlier than Manchester United. And it's one of the biggest local derbies in British football, thanks to the fact that um, Manchester City has grown immensely since the 2010s due to the takeover from the Emirate money. Hey, Red Baron, good to see you. We're doing Manchester United versus Liverpool rivalry today for the Gameday flights. So we're heading towards Wrexham. We're flying to Wrexham for another waypoint at Wrexham. So we're talking about Manchester United for a bit. Back as well. Hope you're doing well. I hope you prep for a good weekend. So, but yeah, Manchester City had really grown throughout the 2010s, and the two clubs have now been fighting for league titles and FA Cup finals, and it's really grown over the years. Then they also have a very bitter rivalry with Leeds United, because of the House of Lancashire versus the House of York, with Manchester United supporting the red of Lancashire and Leeds United supporting the white side of Yorkshire. And yes, Leeds United, if you ask some of the older people, they actually probably absolutely despise Leeds United. Especially if you live in the older people, Leeds is absolutely despised by Manchester United fans. They absolutely do not like each other. The last major rivalry we're talking about here, Arsenal. Now, unlike Liverpool and Leeds rivals, the rivalry with Arsenal is very competitive, thanks to the managers of mainly Alex Ferguson versus Arsene Wenger, which was a very personal heat rivalry as well, and it was an absolute one of the greatest rivalries in Premier League history with Arsenal and Man. Big rivalry, especially in the 90s and 2000s, was absolutely. Of course, the club itself has some very notable players. Of course, the top one I mentioned is Cristiano Ronaldo. Yes, believe it or not, if you guys don't remember, Cristiano Ronaldo came to Manchester United from Sporting Lisbon. And he played for Manchester United from I believe 2003. Actually, yeah, from 2003 to 2009, and he built a lot of his legacy in Manchester United. Helped him get 3 Premier League titles, and even won a Ballon d'Or for one of those years with Manchester United. But of course, CR7 has to be on the list. Then of course, Wayne Rooney. His boyhood club was Everton. Then they sold him to Manchester United for a record £55 million. But I mean, it was well worth the money because Wayne Rooney was an absolute menace of a goal scorer during his time at Manchester United. Then you have Ryan Giggs, um, very well known player for Manchester United, an incredibly talented and very successful player over the years. Of course, then we have Sir Bobby Charlton, one of the greatest English players of all time. Bobby Charlton. He is one of the greatest players of all time. He's an absolute goat for Manchester United. Big part of England's last World Cup victory as England won the World Cup. He was a famous player for winning the World Cup, but also an absolute superstar with me. He even survived the Munich air disaster. Absolute legend. Then you have George Best from Northern Ireland and became one of the greats for Manchester United. Peter Schimmel, Jack Rowley, Gary Neville, and many, many more legendary Manchester players over the years for the. And then we have the managers, of course. Ernest Mangal. But the big two managers I want to talk about for Manchester United, one is Matt Busby, who was actually formerly a Liverpool captain, funnily enough. Who was very controlling of team selection, player transfers, and more. But Busby was a legendary man. The crazy thing was, of course, was he also successfully managed to find a way to rebuild the team even after the post Munich air disaster. He managed to still find success for Manchester United even after the air disaster. He's an absolute legend. But if I had to pick the greatest Manchester United manager of all time, there's only one manager. Alex Ferguson is their greatest manager. He originally was the manager of Aberdeen Football Club in Scotland. He had an incredible run with Aberdeen. He even brought them silverware, which, by the way, for a lot of you guys who don't know about the Scottish League, usually the only people who won that league is either Rangers Football Club or Celtic. They both play in Glasgow. Well, he led Aberdeen to winning a league title. That was at the time the first time in 15 years that was not won by those two Glasgow clubs. And eventually he got them even more, including getting them to European success. However, then he was appointed as manager in 1986 to Manchester United. After several small seasons, what ultimately changed Manchester United and Alex Ferguson's career was the academy at Manchester United, the academy of '92, and after a slow start, they end up winning their first league title in the Premier League in 1993, in the beginning of many league titles, including the first English club to get a treble at that point in 1999. But he led Manchester United to all sorts of. No question, he is their greatest man. His legacy is still felt. And most importantly, Manchester United as a club still has not recovered a bit since his retirement, which is crazy to think about. That Manchester United has still not recovered from. Feel for all the Manchester United fans. I can understand. It's been an absolute of things. We're gonna drop down to around I think we can drop around 2,000 feet. So the next waypoint is going to take us to Wrexham, actually. Now, I know a lot of you guys are thinking, Viper, why we're going to Wrexham. Well, if you guys aren't aware about Wrexham, this is actually a border town in Wales. It's about right next to the border to England, just south of Chester. But Wrexham is most well known nowadays for the football club. Yes, Wrexham Association Football Club, founded in 1864. It's actually the oldest club in Wales, and it's the third oldest football team in the world, professional association football team in the world. Yes, it's the third oldest. It's actually a very old club. Now, of course, the crazy thing about this club, everyone should now probably know this. Um, but what makes Wrexham now known nowadays is its international ownership by actors Rob McElhenney and Ryan Reynolds, and they brought a new era of success to the club that's been um, pretty apparent. Plus, they also had more global publicity thanks to the documentary Welcome to Wrexham, which has brought in visibility and international fan base. And the crazy thing is, over the last couple of years, they've risen all the way from the National League, the fifth tier, and they've gone up to back to back promotions to the EFL Championship for Wrexham. And they're now in the second tier of English football for the first time since 1982, which is actually crazy to think. They're now in the second tier for the first time. But yeah, it's crazy that Wrexham's going. So we'll be flying over Wrexham. Pay a visit to Run Course. But yeah, they absolutely have grown all around the world. They have all sorts of new fan clubs. Yeah, Wrexham's grown immensely since the takeover. And from what I know about what Ron Reynolds has done, they're actually taking really good care of the club. They're taking good care of it. They're making some smart moves. That's why Wrexham are succeeding. That's definitely a feel good story. I wonder if it lasts. But I think it's still pretty interesting to think that there's now success in. And of course, it's a very old club with a lot of history. That's where we're going to be flying over. We're going to pay Wrexham a visit, and then we'll head over to Merseyside. Check out. We'll head to Liverpool, of course. Finally, over here, of course, is our final slide for Manchester United, and that is its honors. Of course, here in Liverpool, they have slightly fewer trophies than Liverpool. They're still incredibly successful. 20 league titles. They've won the FA Cup 13 times. They've won the League Cup 6 times. They had the record Shield 21 times. In Europe, they've won. The most successful decade, of course, was the 90s under Ferguson. They even won the Champions twice under his tenure. 2 of the 3 Champions League were won during the Ferguson era. They won a Europa League in 2016, Super Cup in 1991, and even took home a Club World Cup in 2000. So this is a very decorated and historic club, and rightfully so. So Manchester United, absolutely a decorated and that concludes our last slides of Manchester United. So that'll be the last slide of this thing here. So we'll talk more about. So 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 I'll let you guys know what we're going to be doing next week. So I have a couple of games for the next one when we get back. So my choices for this one depend on the schedule. I have Colts versus Steelers. So I do have a couple of ones as well. So here's a couple of options for the notepad, of course. So here it is on top. So I have a couple of suggestions. So basically for next week, when we get back, here's my choices though. We have Colts versus Steelers, which is the NFL. We have the Georgia-Florida game for college football, so there's one for that one. 2 Georgia-Florida. Then we have the Senators and Canadians, and then for the soccer games, I picked the 2 ones I picked: Sociedad or Athletic Club, Milan versus Roma, and we have the Turkish matchup. Then we have the Austrian matchup between Wien and Graz. So basically, for the ones I would pick for this week, of course. So basically, for the ones this week, ultimately, if I were to pick one for this weekend, I think the one I'm going to take next week. I'll let you guys know, but basically, it depends on the schedule. But if something happens this week, let's say Georgia somehow loses to Ole Miss, or the Colts don't do well, I might do the Sociedad Athletic Club game when we get back. But yeah, it'll be dependent on the schedule, of course. I'm going to let you guys know in. Send a bit lower to 2015. So we're about to make Wrexham. But yeah, I'll let you guys know what we're doing in the Discord. So I'll let you guys know. Now, so that it's a tough choice because it depends on how the rest of the games will turn. It's about 2 weeks in advance, so here it is, guys. Wrexham. This is Wrexham in Wales. There is Wrexham, and there's the stadium for the Wrexham Association Football. There's Wrexham in Wales. We're officially when we get back to Wales, of course. So now we're heading up to Merseyside. Now, but basically, going forward, of course, going to be. But yeah, ultimately, it's going to be a tough one. But I think ultimately, what will come down to my decision is ultimately choosing. Ultimately, going to be dependent on what the schedule is. For some reason, Georgia has lost against Ole Miss, for example, for the next couple of weeks. They lose somehow to Ole Miss and lose to. If they lose to Ole Miss, that could really mess things up. But ultimately, I think it's going to be another soccer game. The question is going to be Sociedad versus. I think I'm going to ultimately pick the Basque Derby for. Like I said, there's mobile games from all around the world. There's also the February 1st game as well. I don't know. I'll keep an eye on things as we go. I'll keep an eye on the schedule and see where it goes through. I'll wait and see. So I'm going to show you a bit about Manchester United website here. This is the window cap. Whoops. Whoops, I captured. Whoops. Back to the way they work. So this is Manchester United's website. The Old Trafford. You can, of course, do the tour to Old Trafford Museum. Click here. So, Old Trafford, historic home of it. You can take the tour. You can visit football legends, and you can do the museum as well. Well, you can even do a legend tour with a legend of the club. Discover the fear of dreams. You can take inside the stadium, the tunnel, changing room, the press room, explore the club and history itself at Old Trafford. And yes, they got fan clubs from all around the world here. Got that. And of course, there is the store for Manchester United fans. Got all sorts of stuff. Manchester United store. They even got retro stuff as well. And they even got the retro collection too. Retro stuff is now a big. Oh, nice! Where they make Airbus wings. Yes, Hawarden's where they make a lot of the Airbus. You see all the retro stuff. They got retro jackets. But look at all the different kits. They got their 1999 away kit. They got their old classic shirts. Yeah, they got a lot of famous Manchester United. They even got retro back the 1957 Cup. All sorts of old school stuff for Manchester United. We're gonna now head over to. We're gonna be flying to Liverpool. So I've been to the city. Liverpool's a really cool city, of course. So as a city, Liverpool are absolutely huge. Absolutely really cool city. It's located on Merseyside. The city's dating back to 1207. When it became much more significant in the 17th century due to being involved in the Atlantic slave trade. It also imported cotton for the textile mills in Lancashire and became a major departure point for English and Irish immigrants to North America. And it grew even more in prominence during the Industrial Revolution and home to the first intercity railway. The first non-conventional warehouse system, the Royal Albert Dock, and a pioneering elevated electrical railway. Of course, nowadays, Liverpool's economy is based on tourism, culture, maritime, hospitality, healthcare, life services, manufacturing sector. It's used as a very popular film location and was the fifth most visited UK city by foreign tourists. Of course, as a city for music, it is home to the Beatles. After all, the Beatles had made their home in the city, but of course, other acts. It's also home to other academics, actors, artists, comedians, and of course, it's the home of two world-class English clubs, being Everton and Liverpool. Liverpoolians are known as Scouts, Scousers, thanks to being referenced to the local dish made popular by sailors. Yeah, Liverpool, really cool city, really neat landmark. It's, I absolutely loved my time in Liverpool. I'm very excited to get back to the city. Maybe to get back at, I don't know, get back to Everton. So we're finally making it to Liverpool. Finally in the city, of course. So here it is, guys, Liverpool. We finally made it. Here we are, guys. Liverpool, downtown. We're at the River Mersey. This is Tranmere. This city over here to our left is Birkenhead, now home of Tranmere Rovers, and also where Dixie was born. Is in Birkenhead. Guys, anyone who knows English football should probably know Dixie Dean, the legendary Everton star. He's Everton's greatest player of all time. So let's see who's with us. There's Grover Source with us. I tried to get the multiplayer thing finally working. It took me a bit. I'm not saying. So I visited the city, by the way. Really cool place. Sadly, they don't have Everton Stadium here. Which, by the way, if you guys have never been to Everton Stadium, here's Everton football. So I'll show you Hill Dickinson Stadium in a little bit after we fly over the dump course. Here is Liverpool. There is the dockyards. There's Royal Albert Dock. Here in downtown Liverpool. But yeah, I've been to this city. I love Liverpool. I'm very excited to come back to this. I love it. Much more relaxed compared to London. London's great and all, but I like Liverpool. Really cool stuff. We were docked over here, so we were not far from the Liver building. Go ahead and turn. To here it is, guys. Slow down for a bit. Slow down this plane for a good bit. So this here is Liverpool's Anfield. This is Anfield, home of Liverpool. Guess to your left is guess where in your left this is. This is Everton's former home ground, actually. The women's team now plays at Goodison. That's because the men's team are playing in their brand new facility at Hill Dickinson Stadium in the docks. Compared to on-field, Goodison's definitely a much smaller event. Much more intimate venue. It's much smaller, but very intimate. But don't worry, we will definitely do a matchup with Everton. Definitely do one with the Toffees. I might as well get both stadiums here. So this is on-field. And this here is Goodison. And the one to the left is Everton's very own Goodison Park. This for some reason it's not working very well. Oh, I'm gonna shift to E90. Something's big. So we're gonna head over to Manchester now. I'm gonna head back. I don't know what's going on with this thing. I think it's the right direction. So basically, Hill Dickinson Stadium. Let me show you what Hill Dickinson is. The new home of Everton. This is the brand new ground for Everton football. Hill Dickinson's. Here it is. The new home on it for Merseyside for Everton. This is the ground they play at. The beautiful Hill Dickinson. Absolutely gorgeous venue. 800 million pounds well spent. Compared to Goodison, it's about 13,000 more people can fit their way into Hill Dickinson. Which is considerably more than that of Goodison Park. Also, and this is what the interior looks like. Absolute gem of a stadium. Very impressive. Hill Dickinson's absolute beauty of a stadium. And don't worry, we'll talk about Everton in one of these streams. I promise you we'll definitely do one. Maybe for Merseyside Derby, we'll talk a bit about Everton when it comes to Merseyside. I'll just have to find the right day of the year we can talk about Everton. So we're about to make our way to Old Trafford. Now, unfortunately for us, Old Trafford doesn't really have any photogrammetry whatsoever. So yeah. But Old Trafford has no photogrammetry whatsoever. But thank you guys so much for being here this weekend. I really do appreciate all you guys being here for another one of these game day streams. I really enjoy these fights a lot. So I'm thinking about Miss B. So I'll probably just. So I'll let you know which one we're gonna pick. So. Guys. Now, of course, obviously, Lancashire is home to quite a few notable football clubs over the years. In Lancashire, there's a ton of really big ones here. Of course, we know the big ones at Manchester United and Liverpool, but they're not the only ones in this city. There are actually a lot of very, very big clubs in Lancashire. Of course, Manchester City are absolutely massive in Lancashire. Is Manchester City. Absolutely massive. There's also, if you go north of Manchester, you have Oldham Athletic. Fun fact, they're one of the founding members of the Premier League. So even though they're now in the fourth division, you have northwest is of Manchester is Bolton, home of the Bolton Wanderers Football Club. Bolton currently play in the third tier, pretty well known. Then you have Preston North End in Preston, to the northwest of Manchester is Preston. They won the first two English titles ever. They won the first two English titles, including their famous title in 1890. Uh, in 1889, they completed an unbeaten season, the first Invincibles campaign in English football. When Preston won the entire contest without suffering any defeats. And that was the last time that has happened until Arsenal did it in 2003. Extremely impressive. But Preston have not seen top flight football since 1960. That being said, they're in the top 4 this year, so who knows? If Preston gets back to top flight football, now that would be a really cool story. For a lot of people, that would definitely be a really cool story. But if you really ask me, the 2 biggest clubs in outside of the big clubs in Lancashire, it would be Blackburn and Burnley. Those are the 2 big ones. And they're both very bitter rivals. Burnley, known as the Clarets, founded in 1882. They're currently owned by Alan Pace, now owns Espanyol. And they play the historic Turf Moor since 1883. Very historic. The other is Blackburn Rovers. And Blackburn were actually founders of both the Premier League and English Football League. From 1875, and they most famously won the Premier League title back in 19. That's right, they managed to be ahead of Alex Ferguson's Manchester United. Crazy thinking. So, yeah, this region got a lot of great notable clubs in. Very cool stuff. Just about 13 nautical miles away from our final stop, we'll pay a visit to Old Trafford. We'll make the landing at Barton Aerodrome. Here we go, guys. So here we go, guys. We officially make it to Manchester. So to our left is the big old city of Manchester. Now, fun fact about the city of Manchester, just a brief overlook at Manchester. This is actually England's 3rd largest city, the capital of the northern part of England. And it's the world's first industrialized city. It was actually been around since 79 AD, when it was built by Roland Fort of Mancunium, which is actually what Manchester's known as. But this city is famous for its art, architecture, culture, higher education, exports, sports clubs, social impact, and more. But Manchester, very historically a very important city. And while Liverpool is known for music, Manchester has some famous bands, most notably Oasis, the most well-known band from Manchester. Um, and of course, Manchester is very well known um, for its sports, not just for the football clubs, but also for the Commonwealth Games in 2002. So, very well-known stuff in Manchester. Definitely interested in checking it out, of course. Here we go. We're going to turn left, make our way over Old Trafford. Unfortunately, for some reason, Manchester has no photogrammetry. So, we'll just do a brief flyover and we'll land in Barton Aerodrome. Yeah, glad to have the multiplayer thing issue. There's the Old Trafford Cricket Ground. Now, oh, it is in the sim. So, guys, this is Old Trafford, the Theater of Dreams. Beautiful stadium, home of Manchester United. There she is. We're going to go ahead and make our landing here. So all this waterway, by the way, here is actually built by the ship canal. It was dug into Manchester. So we'll land at runway 6 left. We can land at any of the runway. Oh, nice. On the side of the canal. That's fantastic. Cover that. But yeah, I'll let you guys know this. I'll let you know when I'm probably working on. We'll wait and see. Though there is one I will tell you, though, I would definitely do, and that's the week after we get back. Because the week after we get back, I confirmed this too, we'll do Boca Juniors River Plate. Because if you guys don't know about this game, it's basically what happens when you take the Barcelona Real Madrid game, make it a local derby, and then add steroids to it. We'll be in Argentina for that week. Oops. Yeah, the Manchester Ship Canal. That's what built Manchester into what it was back in the 19th century. It used to be Liverpool be the dominant shipbuilding city. No. Now, we will do Manchester City one of these days. Sterling Dev. We'll do Manchester City one day, but not today. That's because I'm going to save Manchester City's ground for when we do them on their channel. Don't worry, I'll do it with a different flight plan. Oh yeah, one more thing. The ground to our right ahead of us, that's Salford City. Guys, left. About time we land in Barton. Oh. So we're down Barton. And in here welcome to Barton Aerodrome, and we'll set up and we'll park here. So that's it, everyone. We made it to Manchester. So welcome to Manchester, Lancashire. So I hope you guys enjoyed the day. You guys learned plenty about the flying. I know there was a bit of technical stuff. I did do a flight actually a while back over all the Premier League stuff. I think is it one of my VODs? Did I actually saved it as one of my VODs. Story Dev. Ah, yes. Airliners Live have one too. But we're here, Burton. So we'll be back with another one of our streams. So it'll be a couple of games, but I'm thinking for the week for the game day flights, of course, I'm leaning more towards for our game day flights, I am leaning more towards the Real Sociedad Athletic Club game in Spain, or I do the NHL matchup with the Senators and Canadiens. So it's tough. Or the Austrian Rapid Wien Sturm Graz. I think it's going to be one of those games. I'll keep you all posted in the Discord. I'll let you guys know. So I hope you're all doing well. So we're going to go ahead and say hello to our raid. We're going to raid. I think we're going to raid. Can do. I'm going to raid Kando if that's all right with you guys. We'll see you all soon in about a couple weeks. Take care, everyone, and I hope to see you all again soon. Goodbye, everyone, and have a great start to your week.